Good evening. Welcome to the August 21st, 2023 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'll ask that you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up on our agenda tonight, under the proclamation section, is a proclamation in recognition of International Overdose Awareness Day. We have a couple of representatives from the Payne County Health Department here with us tonight. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and then I'll invite you all to come up and let us know a few words about overdose awareness. Whereas the City of Stillwater does affirm and acknowledge the harm and hardship caused by drug overdose, and whereas we recognize the purpose of International Overdose Awareness Day as remembering loved ones lost to overdose and ending the stigma of drug-related deaths, and whereas we resolve to do our part in reducing the toll of overdose in our community, which claimed the lives of more than 320 in Payne County, Oklahoma from 2017 to 2021, with countless more people forever affected. And whereas we affirm that those affected by overdose are our children, parents, and other family members and friends, and that they're deserving of love, compassion, and support. Now, therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2023 as International Overdose Awareness Day in the City of Stillwater. I think we have Scott and Christy from Payne County Health Department. Let us know a little bit more about Overdose Awareness Day.
Well, first of all, we would like to thank the City of Stillwater for recognizing this day. And it is our intention as Payne County Health Department to continually make the community aware of the drug overdose problem and the deaths, and we continue to strive to reduce that number.
I think Christy said it all.
All right. Well, we appreciate the work that you all do at the Health Department on this issue and many others, and we appreciate you bringing this to everyone's attention for International Overdose Awareness Day.
Thank you again.
All right, councilors. Item 4 is the consent docket. Questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. Next up, item 5 is public comment on items not scheduled for public hearing tonight. We do have a couple of folks signed up to speak on this item. If you are here to speak about Item 7, the performance-based efficiency contract, you do need to be signed up to speak at this time. I have 2 folks signed up. We'll start with Caleb Camaranis.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Camaranis. I'm with the Johnson Controls Sustainable Infrastructure Team. And on behalf of the 50-plus people from the City of Stillwater and Johnson Controls team who have spent the last 20 months working to make this efficiency and risk mitigation project a reality, I want to say thank you to everyone who has helped to work through these bumps in the road in these turbulent times. I know that there's a lot of people and it's much appreciated. This project leverages energy and operational savings produced by retrofitting inefficient infrastructure. By replacing old equipment and systems, we're able to increase efficiency and, in effect, decrease utility and operational expenses by $13.1 million and generate $2.8 million in additional revenue over 20 years to help fund $13.52 million worth of infrastructure renewal. The value Johnson Controls brings to Stillwater is through our ability to capture 20 years of savings today, provide a guarantee the savings will occur, and invest those savings now to replace failing equipment and systems that Stillwater does not have the capital for. When we planned the scope of work, city management prioritized utilizing the project's savings and increased revenue to help replace the unreliable HVAC equipment at the library and municipal building. We created a plan that helps eliminate the financial impact of this sizable investment. Tonight, you are considering the alternate route of self-implementation. Planning to do these projects over time requires that there will not be other priorities to distract or compete for funding. Cost of equipment will not increase, and the cost of money will be advantageous in the future. In the last 4 months, we've already experienced the results of increasing cost of goods and services as well as raising rates. For every month this project has not been implemented, the city forgoes approximately $50,000 in savings. For these reasons, it is to the advantage of the city to complete these projects now. Since the contract was signed 4 months ago in April, cost of goods and services have steadily increased. However, both Johnson Controls and Bank of America have held their pricing and will continue to hold their pricing through September 10th. Bank of America's financing rate of 3.74% is well below the market rate, which is currently at 5.1%, providing a savings of approximately $1.8 million in total interest cost over the term. This is a testament to our level of dedication to this project. This project is a fiscally responsible solution that uses needed upgrades to drive the replacement of failing equipment, helping to stabilize the budget without raising taxes. Together, we can accomplish a 47% reduction in overall energy consumption. We look forward to your continued partnership in making these accomplishments a reality.
Thank you, Caleb. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your comments. Next up, I have Roy Lays.
Good evening. I'm Roy Lays. I live at 2609 South Mar Vista. My wife and I have lived there for, I have been married for 45 years. Jeannie works for a banking industry. We've raised 2 sons, both graduated from Stillwater Public Schools, one from OSU, one from Meridian Tech. I've worked 20 years at Merck Cruiser. I've worked 25 years with B&L Heating and Air. I'm not here representing B&L Heating tonight. I'm here as a citizen of the city of Stillwater. April of '93, I ran for and was elected to the Stillwater City Commission at the time, not council. I served 3 years. At that time, I moved out of town for a couple of years and had to resign my position. My current employer, B&L Heating and Air, has been in business 56 years here. They employ 30 to 33 employees with an annual payroll of $1.95 million. Our tax revenue is over $210,000. Our annual charitable donations are $26,000 plus what our employees give. We are currently sponsoring an apprenticeship program with the Oklahoma Job Training to employ the unemployed. Some recent jobs in Stillwater: a 225-ton chiller for the Payne County Jail, $282,000. A OSU Fire Production 60-ton chiller, $68,000. Oklahoma Department of Career Tech, 140-ton chiller for $117,000. This has all been within the last year. I'm here to talk a little about the JSI. I spent a day and a half walking around with JSI, going to these facilities to look at the HVAC and items. My concerns, of course, are the payback with this large investment, the maintenance, the 20 years of the payback, and at that time the equipment will be reaching the latter part of its life and wore out, and then we'll deal with this whole thing again. So honestly, I do not like the option. I did send an email, asked to be on the committee to help evaluate this, and never received an email back. So I encourage you as elected officials of the Stillwater City Council to be good stewards of the Stillwater taxpayers' money and vote this down. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate your comments. I don't have anyone else signed up to speak at this time. Was anybody else here planning to speak? All right, we'll move on to item 7 on the docket, which is general orders. Item 7A, consider discussion and possible action regarding their performance-based efficiency contract with JCI. And we'll start with Mr. Moore.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. At our last meeting on August 7th, Council accommodated City Management's request to meet with the directors involved in the ESCO project to examine the final scope and determine if an alternative path forward for project implementation was available. All of the directors and managers involved came together, and where we first all agreed to the importance of implementing energy savings measures and addressing deferred maintenance projects that are costing the city in lost energy efficiencies. It was the first time everyone had been asked to come together and discuss this project's, the energy savings project, and share an evaluation of the final project scope. I asked the internal team to come with a conservative cost estimate for hiring out the work, and in some cases using city crews, like we previously discussed, those electric positions, to complete the work laid out in the project scope. I also challenged staff to come with a realistic implementation schedule and corresponding funding plan on phasing in the work. The directors and managers were very positive about addressing the scope of the energy savings project, and it was unanimous on the part of the project that was the highest percent of energy reduction. That's the conversion to LED lighting. Staff agrees that Stillwater should be completely converted to LED lighting in municipal buildings, street lighting, and even our city parks. This is a high priority. So just for a quick overview of an alternative approach as council requested. So for the four major components of the project scope, for the LED part first, in regards to street lighting conversions to LED, the electric department has $1.9 million in the rate stabilization fund that has been bookmarked for this project. Lauren estimates that the electric department crews could implement the 4,400 LED light conversions over a 2-year period. For the interior municipal lights and exterior lights that were detailed in the energy audit, our facilities manager had our contracted electrician, our city electrician, bid the 4,600 LED conversions that included materials and labor. The rough cost estimate came to about $484,000. And city management could put this in the list of capital projects ready to be allocated this year. For water meters and the fixtures part of the project, our water utilities director contacted contractors to get estimates that included materials and labor for the 76 plumbing fixtures and 46 water meters specified in the scope. The estimate came back with material and labor to be $249,000. James indicated that funds are remaining in the AMI water meter project contingency that could be deployed on this part of the scope. For the HVAC part of the project, our facilities manager contacted local vendors to get estimates on each of the components included in the scope. The total came to around $2.9 million. There's not funding available to accomplish all this at once. The most critical components are the 2 chillers here at City Hall. The estimates for replacing these right away is $534,000. And again, this could be funded in the capital projects budget and could be allocated this year. The rest of the HVAC scope will have to be replaced over time as needed. For the building envelope part of the project, our facilities management team is grateful for the energy audit report that has been performed and delivered with this project. It helps us to address the facilities that need new weather sealing in a phased approach, eliminating the need to finance caulking and weather sealing over 20 years. Another benefit of this project, besides the audit that we received, is that overall the project has brought awareness to our staff on addressing areas of the city that are not energy efficient. I believe this new awareness will benefit a new relationship and accountability path forward with the Renewable Energy Task Force. I met with the members of the Renewable Energy Task Force on Thursday to discuss the importance of getting energy savings projects implemented in Stillwater. If council chooses to do an alternative method for project implementation, I proposed a new process that would include quarterly meetings with city management, city staff, and the Renewable Energy Task Force, where we could all track the progress of energy saving projects and report the summary back to council each quarter. City management and staff are excited to see energy saving projects implemented in Stillwater, and we feel the path forward with collaboration of the Renewable Energy Task Force is a really good option.
Thank you, Brady. Councilors, any questions for city manager on those options as he presented them?
Mr. Moore, give me your numbers one more time. Just The
Uh,
LED, HD, the water, HVAC?
Yes, sir. On the LED, the street light project, Lauren reports that we have 1.9 million already bookmarked in the rate stabilization fund for those 4,400 lights. He does say it would take a 2-year period though to implement. The LED lights in municipal buildings would be roughly 484,000. Again, that's for 4,600 lights. And I'll admit it doesn't have some of the controls and some of the, the advanced controls that I was in the JCI project. The water plumbing project, the water meters, those large water meters on the contractor that James got pricing from in June or July of this year came to $249,000, and that's with labor included and parts. And the HVAC, as we mentioned, the total estimate was about 2.9 million, but we don't have the funding for that. We again think the most critical components could be replaced as needed, those being the 2 chillers at City Hall for $534,000.
Thank you.
I know one of the issues that when we've discussed this project prior to this has been the kind of the bandwidth of city employees to be able to do this. I know some of this, it sounds like we would be contracting out. For things like the light, changing the lights, do we have the bandwidth for our employees to be able to do that work?
For the street light project, yes, Lauren has crews that he can implement on that. He said sometimes he might have the ability, if no storms are coming through, he might have the ability for 2 or 3 crews to go work on them, but if a storm comes through, that work could be halted. But he estimates that it would take 2 years to do about 2,200 lights per year to accomplish that. The other pricing that I shared would be hiring it out.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Kimberly, any updates, anything new on the legal front?
Nothing new on the legal front. The only developments as it relates to the act and the restricted financial company list is that the state treasurer did publish a revised list on August 15th, and Bank of America is still on the list. Other than that, as directed, I have 2 resolutions on the agenda.
Did you get any sense of why they pulled some people off of that list? Was that part of any of the discussion from?
Nope.
So there are 2 resolutions on the agenda for potential consideration tonight around what would have to happen from a legal perspective. Without jumping to that part of the agenda, can you just remind us of the general idea of what we'd have to pass on that regard?
Yes, as discussed at the last meeting, in order to move forward following the letter of support that we received from the Attorney General regarding our ability to meet the reasonably available exception to the Energy Discrimination Elimination Act, the governing board, so the City Council, would need to pass a resolution finding that the services provided by Bank of America are not otherwise reasonably available from a company that is not a financial company under Section 3 of that act. In addition, Bank of America would require that we pass a broad authorizing resolution that just finds that we find financing this project with Bank of America via a tax-exempt lease purchase agreement is in the best interest of the city.
And my last legal question, I think, if we were to pass this resolution around declaring that there is not an otherwise reasonably available option for us, do we have any guidance on what reasonably available means under this statute? I mean, if absent a letter from the treasurer or the attorney general, do we have any sense of what that means?
No, we would be relying on the letter from the Attorney
And-
General. There hasn't been much guidance for cities on how to navigate the exceptions available to us in the Act.
So other than the attorney general's letter, who indicated that he doesn't think it applies, he does not believe it applies, or he does not believe it would be reasonably available to have to go spend more money on it. That's really the only guidance we have
That's
as
correct.
to that exception. Okay. Counselors, questions, comments?
I have a follow-up for Kimberly also. So if we were to take the Attorney General's letter at face value and move forward and do the financing, as I understand it, there's nothing from preventing a future Attorney General from revoking that letter and suing us. Is that fair?
It's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll lay out some general thoughts on this matter. This is kind of a broad agenda item here. We do have resolutions if we want to move forward. I think this is a really difficult question for the city council at this point because there are a number of very important competing interests we've got to deal with. I think based on the report and the work of our Renewable Energy Task Force, we know that these kinds of projects need to be done in the city. We have committed to some energy goals for our community that are very important over the next several years. And a project like this is a big part of living up to the commitment of reducing our dependence on non-renewable energy in the city of Stillwater. And so I think we have that goal that we're trying to hit, and we want to make sure that we're doing projects that are going to help us to do that. And so doing these projects, I think, is incredibly important. I think the work that JCI has done so far has been excellent for our community. I think their ability to come in and get these projects done quickly, to take all those 20 years of savings and apply them ahead of time and get the projects done faster than we can do them ourselves, is certainly of a lot of value because we start to recognize those savings right away. But then there's also the complexity of a contract like this, some questions around what exactly counts as an energy saving under the contract. And then we throw in the whole uncertainty around our financing through Bank of America, which I think the risk is relatively low. I mean, Councilor Clark, your question I think is a good one in the sense that we don't really have any guarantee that the law is going to be applied the way the current Attorney General has indicated that he would apply it. But that is a low risk, but it's also a risk that we have literally no idea what the outcome of that could be if someone else were to come in and say, no, sorry, we think you didn't have a reasonably available or it wasn't reasonable to go ahead with Bank of America under these circumstances. And so this is one, in my 7 years or so on council at this point, I'm not sure we've dealt with an issue that's been this complex and this problematic from the standpoint of trying to figure out what's best for the community of Stillwater overall. And it's one that I know I've gone back and forth and struggled over, what is the best way forward for us here. From my standpoint at this point, I think because the city manager has been able to provide good options for how we can do this in-house, because of the commitment to work with the Renewable Energy Task Force moving forward, and that quarterly meetings where those folks on that committee who are very committed to making sure this stuff happens are holding us accountable to making sure that it does. I feel more comfortable with saying this is something that we can accomplish on our own, and avoiding that sort of unknown risk to us is of considerable value as well. And so, my feelings at this point are that it's best for us to move forward with the city performing these, committing to perform these upgrades on our own. But I'm open to other thoughts or considerations from council.
Well, Mayor, I agree with you, and I have struggled with this whole thing for quite a while. When we first approved it, I didn't think the savings were very significant when you consider the impact of the interest on top of everything else. But there were some savings there. But this thing has gotten so complex and has become really sort of political hot potato because of the financing aspect of this thing, that I'm just not comfortable moving forward either. And I believe that I have confidence in the staff. I have confidence in the leadership of the interim city manager. And I think that we should move in that direction and trust them to get the biggest part of it and the biggest savings accomplished.
I agree so much that these are things that people in our community have talked about for a while. We organized this or authorized this task force to really work on these issues for us, and the importance, as I work across the country with communities that are leading are the ones that are addressing these types of issues, not only from an energy efficiency perspective, but really looking forward into what kind of an all of the above energy policy looks like for communities. And the savings that come from these energy efficiency projects are truly valuable to the community. And for us, this represents not only that energy efficiency, but a period of where we haven't really reinvested back into ourselves. And I think that those things are really valuable. And I really appreciate the time and the energy that the Renewable Energy Task Force has taken to look at these issues and to, with JCI, and to kind of help us understand where we're at and where we need to go. I am also concerned about just the uncertainty that is in front of us with this state legislation. It is very challenging. I haven't been on as long as you, Mayor, but I also feel that same sense of, I don't recall a time when we've been presented with something quite so challenging in that front. I appreciate that the city staff has looked at not only their ability to accomplish these projects, but also their accountability in accomplishing these projects. That's something that I don't always know that we get right, and I think is very important in order to honor the time that our community has spent working on these issues and the time that staff has now spent evaluating these issues. I think the accountability is incredibly important, and definitely would like to see that if we determine as a group that we're going to self-execute these projects.
So when I began to look at this, I had two concerns. One was the energy savings over 20 years. To me, that's, as an engineer, that's kind of hard to forecast because we don't know the technology, we don't know the circumstances that far out. Recognize short term, we can probably forecast that pretty well. But set that aside, and my biggest concern was if we try to do it ourselves, the loss of momentum that can happen 2 or 3 years down the road where, okay, we got started, but we need more money over here. And that's really been a concern of mine all along. But with the Energy Task Force popping up here and holding your feet to the fire, I think that has been addressed. And so I'm okay with let's do it ourselves.
I would say I think as a community, we're very fortunate to have people, those on the Renewable Energy Task Force that do prioritize this, that do want to see this progress made, and that I think knowing the people on this task force, they will hold us accountable to ensure that we're making progress on these goals.
Ms. Carnley, what are our options in terms of moving forward if we decided we don't want to pursue the project through the JCI contract?
Then this evening, I would be looking for motion to terminate the performance contract and authorize payment to JCI pursuant to that performance development agreement. And you could just direct staff to bring back on a future agenda a plan to proceed with self-executing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that second part is really important because I think while we appreciate, Mr. Moore, your outline of that, I think we would want to have something more formal for the council to approve and to lay out, to say from a resolution perspective or something that says this is what we're going to do to ensure that these projects are in fact happening. Councilors, further comments or action on the item?
I'll make a motion to terminate the contract as per the provisions of the contract and request that staff come back with the plan within a month for execution with the time frame.
Second. Is that motion sufficient for?
Possible amendment to the
Okay,
motion to
sure.
also authorize the payment under the performance development agreement.
And authorize the payment under the terms of the agreement.
Second. So we have a revised motion and a second.
Yeah, I didn't quite finish my motion. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Are you done?
No, that was it. No,
Okay.
I'm done now.
Thank you.
I have a motion to terminate the performance contract with JCI and authorize payment of the performance development agreement, as well as to direct staff within a month to come back with a plan. And a second on that motion.
I'll second. I'll second your
You,
motion.
you made the motion,
Motion.
you seconded the motion. I restated it just so everybody's clear what the
Okay,
motion
very
is.
good.
Counselor Clark was the second on that.
Yes. Discussion on the motion? Please vote. Vote 5-0, that motion is approved. I do want to, before moving on, make just comment to JCI and Caleb and your team. The work that you all have done here has been a fantastic value to our community. I think, unfortunately, the delay and the wrench that got thrown into the works here was a big part of us having to kind of reconsider our path forward. And so I hope it certainly is, from my perspective, no reflection on the work that JCI has done for us to not move forward with that agreement at this point. We can speak after the meeting. I appreciate it. All right, that takes us to item 8 on the agenda, which is resolutions. First up, 8A, Resolution CC-2023-26, a resolution authorizing signatories for depositories. Christy Cluck.
Good evening, Christy Clark, Finance Director, and with the recent turnover in staff that we've seen, it is necessary to change our authorizing signatories with our banking institutions, and so the resolution CC 2023-26 accomplishes that.
Councilors, questions, comments, or action on the item?
Motion to adopt resolution CC-2023-26.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. The vote of 5-0, resolution 2023-26 is adopted. Item B is resolution CC-2023-27, a resolution of the Stillwater City Council authorizing the execution and delivery of an equipment lease purchase agreement and related instruments and determining other matters in connection therewith. Christy.
All right, on November 1st, 2021, just a few days ago, the City Council approved the purchase of 2 fire engines, and those were to be financed through the SUA master lease with Bank of America. On May 3rd, 2023, as we discussed earlier this evening, the State Treasurer did issue the list in accordance with the Energy Discrimination Elimination Act that included Bank of America on that list. The fire engines were originally scheduled to be delivered in June of this year. That delivery date was postponed until September. And so in order to find a new lending partner, since we cannot move forward with additional financing arrangements with Bank of America, we did put out a request for proposal back on June 1st. We had 5 responses to that, which are included in the report in the agenda packet. I do have a recommendation on the financing institution to move forward with, but I will pause here to answer questions.
Christy, can you remind me what rate BOA quoted way back when?
That rate is determined at the time of closing on the loan, so we didn't have necessarily a quoted rate. And I did not ask for an estimated rate when we went out for RFP.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What was the staff's recommendation on the item?
Yes. Motion to adopt resolution CC 2023-27 authorizing the equipment lease purchase agreement with Bank of Oklahoma.
Based on Bank of Oklahoma being 3/4 of a point lower than the other bids?
Yes, and they do also have a government equipment leasing program already in place, and so they are really geared up and ready to go to accommodate what we're looking for.
So do we have a sense of whether this, I mean, if we would have been able to continue with Bank of America here instead of having to switch, do we know what that, I mean, they would have had, what you just said was that they would have had to bid on the rate now at the time?
The rate calculation is spelled out in the master lease agreement, but it is determined at the time of closing.
So do you know what it would have been?
I did not ask.
Yeah.
I do feel like it would be very comparable to the responses that we got.
Okay. So do we need to do a new master lease?
That
would be okay, or are we going to start this whole process again at this point?
I would like to move forward with a new master leasing arrangement because we do have some waste management trucks on order that are expected to be delivered, I believe, next June. And then there's one additional fire truck that is on order.
Okay. Councilors, further questions or action on the resolution?
I move to adopt Resolution CC 2023-27.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that resolution is adopted. Item 8C, Resolution CC-2023-28. This is a resolution adopting a record retention schedule and process for the city of Stillwater, Oklahoma and related entities. And Ashlyn Garris is here to present the resolution.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Ashlyn Garris, Assistant City Attorney. I'm here tonight to introduce the next two resolutions on the agenda for the adoption of a record retention schedule and updated fee schedule for open records search, inspection, and reproduction fees pursuant to the Open Records Act. The records retention schedule establishes minimum time periods for retention pursuant to state law and city code. Adopting the schedule will provide the city with a tool for more efficient operation of records management. Also for consideration is a resolution updating open records search fees that are allowed by state law. The new fee schedule provides additional detail for the city to charge its direct costs related to open record searches. State law requires adoption of these fees by resolution and posting with the county clerk to become effective. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Councilors, any questions?
On Resolution 28, 2023-28, do I understand it correctly that any of the, I want to get the right terminology, the retention citations, if they have 11 OS and then 22-131B listed, that means that's something that we as a municipality would determine that it's not predetermined what the retention retention length is?
Yes, under subsection B, there's discretion for the city.
And so, just out of curiosity, I know there's a whole list of these, so it probably varies, but what was the process in determining what the schedule for retention of documents is?
We looked at various different cities, and we as a legal department got together and just used those.
Okay. So best practices.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Prior to now, have we not had a retention document?
No, we haven't.
Ooh, okay.
All right, item C, Resolution CC-2023-28 is the item we're considering. Is there action on the item?
Motion to adopt Resolution CC-2023-28.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. That is adopted with a vote of 5-0. And then the other resolution that was just discussed, Resolution CC-2023-29, a resolution establishing the fee schedule for open records search, inspection, and reproduction fees pursuant to the Oklahoma Open Records Act, 51 OS 24A.1 and following. Questions about this resolution?
Just I had one question on this too. What about for electronic copies? If someone calls and they are asking for something and it's an Excel file or a PDF that we're sending them, emailing them, is that part of what, does the city do that, I guess, is a question. And then is there a charge for that?
The city does provide electronic copies when it's available, and there is no charge.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions or action on the resolution?
Motion to adopt Resolution CC-2023-29.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. That resolution is adopted with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Ashlyn.
Thank you.
Items E and F on Section 8 are resolutions related to our previous discussion of the performance contract. I don't know that we need any action. We can just...
No action is necessary.
Thank you. Item 9, ordinances. Ordinance on second read, 3525. An ordinance rezoning approximately 53 acres of property located east of 12th and Blakely and north of Stillwater Creek, including property more commonly described as 1200 South Adams Street and 1201 South Adams Street, from Office O and Agriculture A to Public P. Counselors,
I move to adopt ordinance 3525.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. The vote of 5-0, ordinance 3525 is now adopted. Item 10 is appointments. We have a couple of boards with folks that need to be appointed. I'll start with the Board of Adjustment. Board of Adjustment has 2 vacancies, and 2 people have applied to be appointed to the to that Board of Adjustment. I'm trying to see the terms. I don't know if they're separate. My report doesn't show if those are terms that expire at separate times. I think they would.
February 2024 for both of them, it says.
Oh, you're okay.
You're filling the vacancy.
I'm looking at the wrong column. Thank you, Counselor. So we have 2 seats that would expire in February of 2024, and I will nominate Gerald Hammond and Joylyn Nichols to those seats on the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Gerald Hammond and Joylyn Nichols are appointed to the Board of Adjustment. We appreciate their willingness to serve. As to the Board of Drainage Appeals, we have 2 openings on that board, but at this point only have 1 application on file. So at this time, I will nominate Haining Schoenemann to appointment on a seat that expires in June of 2024 on the Board of Drainage Appeals.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that appointment is made to the Board of Drainage Appeals. We appreciate the willingness to serve of Haining Schoenemann and would ask if anyone else is interested in serving on our Board of Drainage Appeals. We do have a vacant seat. So go to our boards and committees page on the city website and take a look at what openings are there. On our new city website. Stillwater, oh man. cityofstillwaterok.gov? Just stillwaterok.gov. Stillwater.org will still get you there.
/citizen boards, by the way, 'cause you've
There we go.
stolen my announcement.
Oh, well, hey. We can never have too many reminders. All right. Takes us to reports from officers in the board. City Attorney.
Yes, a request for executive session pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B1 of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act for the purpose of confidential communication regarding the employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of interim city manager Brady Moore. Another executive session request under the same authority for the discussion of confidential communication regarding employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of City Attorney Kimberly Carnley.
Thank you, City Attorney Kimberly Carnley. Mr. Moore.
The Stillwater Fire Department will have a pinning ceremony for new recruits, Dane Lemon, Colton Savory, and Brandon Vassar on Wednesday, August 23rd. The ceremony will begin at 1:30 p.m. at Fire Station Number 1, which is at 1506 South Main Street. Please join us as we honor their commitment to serving our community. If you cannot attend this event in person, it will be streamed live on the Fire Department's Facebook page at facebook.com/STWFire.
Awesome. That'll be a fun event. Those are always great. So if you have a chance to come out to those, we would love to see you there. Vice Mayor Jaloski.
Yes. ODOT has requested that we share with our community, I feel like there should be confetti coming, that all 4 lanes of Perkins Road and US 177 will be open by the end of August.
Hooray.
Hooray. Also be mindful there will be intermittent lane closures as needed to finish entrances and exits to our ADA compliant crosswalks. We appreciate ODOT for meeting timelines and working with us to keep traffic moving during large events. Big thanks to everyone for their continued patience throughout the much needed construction project. And thank you to our businesses located within the construction area and to patrons who have continued to shop local and support these businesses. Don't forget that the Chamber's Purchase on Perkins ends this month. To find out more information about that effort, go to the Chamber's Facebook or their website at stillwaterchamber.org.
Thank you so much. That is exciting that that's close to done. I drove by there a couple weeks ago or last week, I think, when it had rained a ton, and they were literally pumping water out of the sides where they're trying to pour concrete. So the fact that they're still able to get it done with all the rain we've had is great. So, Councilor Hawkins.
With the first OSU home football game coming up on September 2nd, please consider taking advantage of the free park and ride shuttle service. The City of Stillwater and Oklahoma State University Athletics offer free parking and shuttle service from downtown. The shuttle runs every 30 minutes before and after the game, 3 hours before the game, throughout the post game. We have more than 500 free parking spots available. The pickup and drop-off location is at 7th Avenue and Lewis Street. Save money, beat the rush, park downtown, and it says go Cowboys, but I'm going to say go Pokes.
Thank you. Councilor Clark.
Reinforcing the mayor's comments, the city is accepting applications for citizen representatives to serve on the Board of Drainage Appeals. This position needs to be filled by someone with knowledge of hydrology, engineering, stormwater management, or a related field, and who has no economic interest in the development or construction industries. If you would like to get involved in your local government and help make Stillwater even greater, please consider applying online at stillwaterok.gov/citizen boards.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. Councilor Harden.
It is back to school in Stillwater. Welcome back, Cowboys and Pioneers. With all our educational entities back in school, please be mindful when driving and look out for additional traffic, such as bicycles, scooters, walkers. A couple of reminders: always stop at crosswalks and let pedestrians pass. Number 2, vehicles must stop at least 20 feet before reaching a school bus that has stopped with its red lights flashing. Together, we can ensure our students and all community members arrive at their destination safely. And I'll say, go Pokes.
Those are good reminders. There's a lot of new people in town. I said on the radio this morning, even for those of us who live here all the time, and you know where you're going, there's a lot of new people driving around that don't know where they're going. So give yourself a little extra time and give them a little grace as they figure out how to get to class on time. So, I will remind everyone that on Wednesday, August 23rd, we will celebrate the 7th anniversary of the first commercial flight out of Stillwater Regional Airport. Many thanks to our staff at SWO for continued efforts to provide greater travel opportunities and economic growth for Stillwater and the surrounding communities. Please consider supporting our local economy and fly SWO when traveling. Stillwater Regional Airport offers free parking, short security lines, and is close to home. You can book flights using airport code SWO at AA.com. Love flying out of Stillwater. It's the greatest. Actually, I love flying into Stillwater. Getting home is fantastic. All right. At this time, I'll move to recess the City Council prior to item 13 on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess City Council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the City Council will now be in recess. At this time, I will call to order the Stillwater the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for August 21st, 2023. We have items on the consent docket. Are there questions or action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. Item 5, general orders. Consider awarding a unit price contract to Utility Field Services LLC for a total bid amount of $1.4 million for the raw water line repair project. And Mr. David Barth is here to tell us more about this item.
Good evening, trustees. Dave Barth with Engineering. Here tonight to present the bid results for the raw water line repair project. If you remember last summer, we had some leaks on the raw water pipeline that were very difficult to repair. One of those in particular crossed underneath Highway 177 just north of the Sooner plant, and we hired a contractor to do that work. In mid-May of this year, we had a significant pressure event in our call pipeline that created some new leaks. We're not sure. We do think we had some leaks before that had not been yet repaired or identified. But since mid-May, we've identified 36 leaks on the call pipeline. City staff has repaired 22 of those, which is really amazing because repairing these leaks is very difficult. And right now we have 11 known leaks on the call pipeline. So we did have a little bit of money left over with our contractor from last summer, and we had issued a change order with them and had them fix 3 leaks about a month and a half ago because we needed their help. So Tonight, we have a little bit different contract before you. It's an on-call contract. We have a couple of leaks that we are wanting to give this contractor right away. And then we've got some other work items in the contract to allow us to, as we need their help, issue work orders to repair those leaks. So just looking at this cover slide here, on the left, there is a leak that you can see the water there just to the right of the railroad tracks. And then that lower right-hand corner picture, it's a close-up of where the leak actually is that's next to the railroad tracks there. So that's just north of Bill's Corner, or the intersection of Highway 64 and 177. That's the first leak that we're asking this contractor to repair. It's encased, so the pipe is inside of a casing pipe, so we don't know where the leak is. The closer the leak is to the railroad tracks, the more difficult it is. We have to get the railroad involved. So there's a lot of things going on with that one. In the upper right-hand corner, there is a manway that is an access down to the pipeline through that hatch. And you can see there's water that's accumulated on top of that lid, and we've got water that's just coming up out of the ground right there. So just a couple of photos showing you what we're dealing with and what we've been dealing with for the last few months. So as I mentioned, typically we like to repair these leaks in-house. That would be our path forward every time. But given that we've had so many leaks and we've got other things that our staff have to do to maintain our distribution system, we just feel like it's in the best interest of the city to get some help to fix these leaks. So what we did was we put a contract together that will give first two leaks that I mentioned, the railroad tracks, and another one that's at the intersection of Independence and 177 to the contractor. And then we've got work items in there in the contract to be able to issue them 13 more leaks. And some of those are unencased leaks, easier to repair, maybe shallower. Maybe the leak is on top of the pipe instead of on the bottom of the pipe, which they all seem to be on the bottom. We don't have to dig as deep. So we've got work items in there to cover pretty much everything, including finding the leak, because that sometimes is a challenge. You see water over here, but yet the leak is over here. So we're hoping that we don't have to utilize them for all of the leaks that we have remaining, but we want to be able to have the flexibility to issue work orders to them as needed to supplement the efforts of our staff. So this slide just shows our strategic plan alignment, the budget and funding. So if you're with the trustees' authorization, the funds for this will be appropriated from the water fund. And we did have two bidders who bid the project, and the lowest bidder was Utility Field Services, which is the company that we worked with last summer and also a few months ago on the leaks. So they've taught us, our staff, some things about ways that we can fix these leaks. Like I mentioned, it's not only challenging because of the size of the pipeline being 36 inches and it's steel. We also have to deal with the fact that we can't take our call pipeline out of service for very long. And so we can turn the pumps off, but it's still under pressure, and that's a difficult work environment. So Utility Field Services was the low bidder, and I would just ask if you have any questions before I recommend a motion.
Trustees, any questions?
Would you repeat how many leaks we've had this summer that they found and how many we've repaired?
Sure. We've found 36, and we have repaired 22.
I would just say a big note of thanks for the team of folks that keep doing that for us. I think that's fabulous, and I know that's a strain.
Yeah, for sure. They've had to work in some difficult conditions, and some of the leaks are not very big, and some of them can be very, very significant.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What's your recommendation for us?
Sure. Recommend that the trustees award the bid to Utility Field Services, LLC in the amount of $1,406,915. Authorize staff to execute the construction contract. Authorize a total of $1,547,606 in total expenditures, which includes construction and contingency, and approve the budget amendment.
Trustees,
I move to adopt staff recommendation.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to accept the staff's recommendation. Please vote. That's approved with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, David. Appreciate the work you guys are doing. I got to figure out a better way to navigate this new online system here. It takes me a second. I don't think we have anything else. Is there any report from the office of the board? Is there a motion to adjourn the SUA?
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion and a second to adjourn Story Utilities Authority. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Story Utilities Authority is now adjourned. I will now reconvene the Stillwater City Council meeting. Prior to item 13 on the agenda, do we have a motion to enter executive session pursuant to the request from the city attorney?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for the Stillwater City Council to enter executive session. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Stillwater City Council will now enter executive session. Nope, they're here. All right, we're back. Is there a motion to return to regular session?
Motion to reconvene?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to reconvene the city council meeting. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now back in regular session. Is there any action on the executive session regarding interim city manager Brady Moore?
Motion to direct the HR director to adjust this interim city manager's compensation so that it's consistent with what our general employees are receiving.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved. Is there action regarding the executive session on City Attorney Kimberly Carnley?
I move to direct staff to adjust the city attorney's contract as discussed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved. Any further items from executive session? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for the evening.